So my name is Gabe Pollock, and I'm sitting here with Charlie Petch. Charlie Petch has a show, No One's Special at the Hot Dog Cart, which premiered at Teatro Pass Mirai in March and is now coming to the Market Hall as presented by Public Energy on April 24th. Um, so Charlie, to start off,
Hmm.
you're someone who's had rather a lot of jobs and job titles over the years.
Hmm.
Currently, I think, feel free to correct me or add on, but poet, playwright, librettist, musician, spoken word artist, film and theater tech, keynote speaker, mentor, workshop facilitator.
Hmm.
Um, Jobs mentioned in this show, I believe 911 operator, hospital bed allocator, emergency room clerk, and street worker.
Hmm.
Among your many jobs, why is it your time as a hot dog cart vendor that you chose as the frame for this show?
Well, there's this moment in the show where something happens in the emergency room, and the nurse turns to me and says, "Where did that come from?" Because I like school somebody who's like ranting and screaming at me, and I immediately like contain it and have them sit down and give up. And she turned to me in the moment. She said, "Where did that come from?" And I said, "Oh, I was a teenage hot dog vendor in downtown Toronto." And that just sat in my head a lot for many and the more I got into like emergency work and emergency response, the more I was like, actually forget the emergency telecommunications course I took at Humber. Like this is honestly like it's from being a hot dog vendor. And I don't think we credit a de-escalation technique that a lot of service industry people do all the time.
Can you talk a bit about what you've learned about the escalation from hot dog cart and then professionally and kind of what you hope that people take away from the show and
Yeah,
the workshop?
I think like so much of de-escalation technique is trying to figure out what the person who needs the de-escalation technique is needing, right? Like, what do they want to hear? What is going to help them make their heart rate go back down, make their breathing go back down? Like, it's so much first aid. And how do you get there? Like, you just reinforce whatever they're saying, is basically what I learned as a hot dog vendor. If they say, aliens have attacked my mother and taken her to another planet, you'd be like, "I'm so sorry to hear that. I hope your mom can someday come back to you." Rather than, if someone said that to me and I said, "That's crazy, you're wrong, and that's not true," immediately they escalate. I couldn't go anywhere and I had to learn how to deal with people having mental health crisis, or just wanting to talk to a 19-year-old, or actually, no, sorry, 17-year-old large-breasted blonde person sitting at a street corner. And all of the, things that happen when you present that way in public. And I just had to learn to survive. And yeah, and it was super valuable because now like I just, you learn to talk to everybody, like how to talk to every single person, because a hot dog cart is a great, crossroads of all different people. Like even rich people want a hot dog sometime.
Mhm.
And everybody needs de-escalation technique. And like in these moments when we're yelled at in public, as a trans person, it happens and whatever. And like if I challenge that, um, or like want to like protect the other people around who are hearing this, it comes at a dangerous cost. You're not gonna thinking that we can change people. I think was, what I really learned in working in the hospital, like thinking I can change people is really is disillusionment. Like it's not going to happen. There's change, change can be brought. People, if they want to change, there's change to happen. But thinking that we can change someone else, for me, that was a real learning moment of like, oh no, they got to be invested.
So can you tell me a bit about the history of this show? Like when did you first conceptualize it and its path to Pass Mirai and now to Peterborough as well?
Sure. Well, I guess like in many ways, I did some little version of this back in the 90s in Peterborough when I first moved there. I think I was like, I think I I went from hot dog vending to working in nightclubs, and then I moved to Peterborough. Um, and so it hadn't even been like 6 months since I was a hot dog vendor. And the Union Theater was doing this contest of new playwrights, new plays. And in as you do when you're 19 years old, you bang out a play in a day and like, I'm done. Um, which is not my process anymore. I miss that process, but it's not my process
Seems
anymore.
easier.
It's much easier, yeah. But you can't get a grant. Like it's just like you're
Yeah.
just putting out content. Actually, I started writing it before the pandemic began. And so it became, as I'm going through it, as I'm doing revisions and everything, it became like this is immediate. Like the problem is immediate because how many people became homeless and how much more street communities started rising up in the cities, and then all of this misinformation, all this fear, all this like just trying to like pump up police and this danger idea. And I'm living in a city that's made up of street culture and other cultures, and it's like why are we doing this to our cities? We should be embracing street culture as a part of our community. And when we do that, it just brings so much safety to so many people, because if you're seen as a monster, why would you try and how do you get out of that?
Mm.
Um, and me personally, I'm, being a trans person, being seen, as a monster and a pedophile and all these things they say about us, you know, um, just being in the world with that and having to, yeah, everything just feels a lot more heated. And I think now is the time where, we really need mass learning of de-escalation technique.
So you mentioned your time in Peterborough. Can you tell me a little bit more about that? How long were you in Peterborough, and can you tell me some?
Well,
Yeah.
I'm from Peterborough, so I was born there, Civic Hospital. Shout
Mm.
out, Civic. Woo! And my family left when I was 6. Luckily, they took me with them, and we moved to Toronto. And then I went back to go to Trent because everybody kept telling me, "Don't go there. That's the bisexual university." And I was like, "Bisexual university? Like, what do you mean, don't go there? Like, I only have one option now that you've told me that that's the bisexual university." So I went to the bisexual university. And yeah, I have ADHD if it's not apparent with the amount of jobs I've done for a year and a half, now I'll just confirm it. So yeah, school was not great for me, but I found the Union Theater and that was great for me. And I got to start doing, so that was like 92 maybe. 92 or 93, I came to town, and the Union was wonderful. It was, for those who don't know it, it was a black box theater, much like the theater on King is now. Um, but it was the 90s, and everything was pretty wild. And like, every 2 weeks there'd be a different show on. And because, it's a small community, I also got to do all aspects of theater, and Peterborough taught me so much. I knew I've directed, I've stage managed, I ended up being a lighting designer, which moved into film. And yeah, and like the Market Hall was the first time I got paid to do lighting. Um, and like to think like, yeah, I could do this for a living. And so coming back to it is just wild. And I've always, Peterborough and I have always done shows together since then, because I know the core of people that are there that are supportive of theater and the kind of theater that can go on and is celebrated. And Toronto's a hard nut to crack. I can't believe I'm almost 50 and I finally got a show in Toronto launched like that. And so I'm super excited to bring it to Peterborough. Um, yeah, and like it just feels really cool and like a very full circle moment as well, because Peterborough has helped me get here, definitely. Like, invaluably.